Suits. Welcome back to Read It and Weep, a podcast about movies and friendship. We are deep into Season 5, Kevin Bacon's Exquisite Corpse, a year-long movie-watching game that we are playing and will try to explain again at some point later in the episode. We are just 4 preferred customers hanging out together, talking about our movie game all year. I am your host, Alex Falcone, recording, as always, from beautiful North Koreatown, Los Angeles. I'm joined today by an excellent panel. First up, he's at Anthony Lopez Part 2. He's in Southeast Portland. We met last week on a routine installation, but I feel like I've known him my whole life. It's Anthony Lopez.
You might recognize this song. It's performed by Jefferson Airplane in a little documentary called Gimme Shelter about the Rolling Stones and their nightmare at Altamont. That night, the Oakland chapter of the Hells Angels had their way. Tonight, it's my turn. Hey, it's great to be here.
That was such a solid karaoke performance. And it kind of made me feel like it would be worthwhile to learn that song and that quote in case I ever get roped into karaoke again.
You ever have those lines in movies that don't like necessarily funny, but for some reason they just stick in your head and like to you, they're very, very funny.
I mean, that's what this whole movie is to me. I found out.
That monologue, that little speech, I put it up there with, like, you know, in Wayne's World when they meet Alice Cooper and he's like, how do you like Milwaukee? He's like, Milwaukee, Algonquin, for the good land.
Yeah.
To me, it's like these two lines have just lived in my brain since the early 90s. I can't get them out. They live there. I'm very happy they're there. But this line is up there. It's just a very, very funny line.
I realized that this movie was one of those that, like, my high school crew quoted incessantly without me even knowing what it was from at some point. I lost track of what it was from. But, like, I had so many hundreds of messages on my voicemail as a kid that were like, I just wanted to hang out. No big deal. Like, just all the time.
Shit. Just that as a message. That's to me the funniest one. It's the last one. Just, oh shit. And then hanging out.
To introduce you to the rest of the panel, next up, he's the co-host of the Old Gamers Almanac podcast from the woods of Brooklyn. He has no vision. It's kind of like working with Mr. Magoo on the show, but in those hair plugs, it's Hunter Donaldson.
Hair plugs.
Hey, smoking.
It's a different movie.
No, I got it. Somebody stop me.
The same different.
I thought you were about to say you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world.
Well, do you want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? Smoking.
Also rounding out the panel, he's in Northern California, and he's having a super time. He's changing, and you're just going to have to learn to live with it. It's Ezra Fox.
This movie made me sad. I don't pass.
And I was ready. I was ready. I was worried from your chatter on our Discord before this, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, nope, Ezra was just in the wrong mood that day. It's not the movie's fault.
Been in the
Ezra
wrong mood
is wrong.
27 years, apparently. Most people have.
America's in the wrong mood for this movie. The movie's great.
I mean, that's like literally how you describe a cult movie. That's what this is the world America was not in the mood for it, and then in hindsight people were like, wow, there's some really interesting stuff going on here.
Well, cults are bad, just so you know. Cults are not great.
The takeaway from cults is not that yay cults.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think these are a little different, but anyway, before we start talking about the movie, I'd like to thank all of our fabulous meat buddies, but I especially want to thank Bill from Portland, who we'll hear more from later. If you'd like to join everyone who has helped keep the show going, you can go to Metreon.com. Great news. April is over. It's May, which means double guilt month. So if you have not donated to the show previously, when you do now, you have to feel extra guilty for taking this long. 200% as guilty as you would have or previously.
Yeah, guys, if I'm feeling a little low energy, it's because I haven't been able to afford food recently. So it's, you know, I've just been really tight here. So, you know.
Yeah, we had to eat my parents to make this happen. Yeah, we were so, not for food, but for like podcast hosting.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope when we post to YouTube, people will see my eye reaction on that one.
Well, actually, I want to talk about that in a second. So anyway, Metreon.com. We really appreciate everybody who supports the show. Feel guilty. So segment 1 today is the news, and before we talk about the news, I wanted to do a little bit of our show news, which is what Ezra just mentioned, which is we posted the episode on YouTube last week. It's a thing we're experimenting with. We've got some visual components.
This new thing called YouTube.
YouTube is moving into more podcasting, and so we were like, let's get in on
YouTube.
Not the ground floor, but we also had it posted on Facebook, and then they were like 3 months later, they were like, we don't do podcasts anymore. Please leave.
We all have to make stupid faces for the thumbnail. So let's do that real fast. You guys,
let's do thumbnail face, everybody.
There we go. Good radio.
That's pretty solid. Good.
That was really good.
You can get all of that if you go to youtube.com/Alex Falcone. A couple of comments from last week that I wanted to share with you guys. First of all, Eldrafi says, I just realized that I've never seen Hunter before. So it's nice to finally put a face to the voice that I've heard for so many years. Because the others of us have had more faces around on the show over the years, but because our logo is a cartoon of a shark in a TV, people don't know what you look like, bud. So,
yeah. And now they do. Now you can see me. Now you're looking right at me, YouTube.
Have you gotten an impression, Hunter, do people think you look like you're supposed to?
I think people think I'm a lot hotter.
Oh, do they?
Generally,
from your voice.
People hear
you got a hot voice,
silky, sexy, hot voice.
Can I? I don't want to make this too weird, but I would say I think you are a good-looking dude, and your voice is not as hot.
Hey.
I think you're over your voice.
Whoa, hey,
hot face, not your voice.
Yeah, hot
Alex,
face, weird voice. That's how I would describe you.
Calm down. You're married, Alex. Please calm down.
Okay,
we're friends, Alex. We're just friends.
I know. I think as friends, I just want to tell you, hot face, bad voice.
Wait,
I mean, your voice is like it's like an Earwolf 8, but an NPR 6. You know what I mean? It is
that classic.
Yeah.
Would everyone rather have a hot voice or a hot face? I'm curious. Quick poll.
Face. What are you talking about?
Definitely a hot face. You can money. It's
money.
Money
Famous. People are nice to you.
I feel like what I'm hearing is that I have a face for modeling.
You do. Yeah. You have a voice for modeling. Yeah.
Voice
you have
for modeling.
A voice for standing silently in good clothes.
Yeah.
There's got to be nothing worse than being like, not great looking, but having a very sexy voice. And like every time you go to order something in line, like people turn around like, who's this hot guy? And just,
right.
This guy.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some benefits to that switch. I like that a lot.
Look, it's easier to change your voice though, right? There are people that, right? Like you don't need surgery.
It's easy.
Great. We got a lot of singing here.
The rain in Spain.
Voice.
Yeah, so you could go to voice classes for cheaper than you could get surgery to be hot, and I think they go wrong less often.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we watched Singing in the Rain for this show a couple years back, and there's like one of the main characters is like good face, bad voice, and you can just dump her voice.
Right.
Whereas it's hard to be like, man, you're so hot. Voice, but we're gonna have to hire another actor to be in front of the camera. That's what the money
face
is.
Part,
yeah. The face part's better.
Yeah,
more useful certainly. The voice. I mean, I would prefer to have one or the other if that's an option.
Oh, just you don't always want medium both.
Yeah, 0 for 2 is not what I was going for. Yeah, double not threatening. Is that what that's called?
A zero threat. Yeah,
a zero threat. Yeah, not a threat is how I am frequently referred to. One other comment from the YouTube channel. You can comment on the episode page on our website, but people don't always. Wait, just doing a visual joke?
No, you weren't even supposed to call attention to it. That's just supposed to be for the YouTube.
Oh, cool. Yeah, cool. Anyway,
I'm gonna do stuff like that now.
It is a little easier to comment on YouTube. So we did get one comment on there about the episode last week from Claire, which said, my favorite part about last week's episode is when Alex struggles to come up with an industry that wouldn't need a fixer and comes up with recycling. And then Claire goes on to list a lot of reasons why recycling industry would definitely need a fixer. And I have had a week now to think about it, and I have not come up with a better. Help me out with this as a group. There's got to be an industry where a fixer would be the most bored. Because, the recycling industry, there's up to some bad shit behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Okay. I think being a fixer for like a highly efficient and well-run criminal organization might be a little bit boring, right? Because as a fixer, you need messes to clean up. Right. If the ship is too tightly run, you know? you're
Well,
like,
you didn't even have to add criminal to that. Just a really well-run organization where
Those are
nothing
hard,
needs
though.
fixing.
yeah.
I mean, I would also chip in. I like that. I say that you only have to fix things if your people expect you to do well as well.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's
Yeah.
like it's
Oh.
a clear, like they're dirty and everyone knows it and it's a failure. Like I think you don't have to actually fix that.
Right. If a group
Right.
is like a real mess, that a company is just an absolute shit show. No one's
gonna
like,
bother,
well, this
yeah.
fixer come in here and fix. You'd be like, where do I start?
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
pass.
I feel like though that's kind of a cop out though, because you're basically just saying like there's some people that don't care about having this is a
Right.
fixer for
And this was
something.
this is the industry, not a company.
Yeah.
So the bad or well-run or terribly run companies in any industry
Yeah.
might not need it. But what's an industry where the fixer, regardless, very little to do?
Cookies.
What about like yoga? What about like a yoga
Yoga
fixer?
fixer?
There are yoga scandals. I mean, like if like
Certainly, yeah. There was a whole bunch
Is
of them.
there anything untouched by scandal?
If men work in the company, no.
Yeah.
Is one of the lessons. But yeah, I mean, I guess yes, you'd have to have a fixer to like cover up the creep, but also like people hurt themselves doing yoga all the time. You do hot yoga, you stretch
Oh
further
my
than you're able to.
God.
Then you got
And-
like a massage fixer.
And like a main thing, like a fixer in a yoga is going to be like, hey, we double booked this space. You need to go and grease some palms, get us a
Right.
proper space.
Yeah,
This
you
company, we ordered 12 mats, but only 6 showed up. You have 3 hours to get the other 6. Like
All right, so I've solved it.
Fixer's
Then.
gonna
The
be
only
moving
industry that does not need a fixer in house is if it was
a
like
fixer.
Fiverr.com for fixers, where you were just like, if you were like
Whoa.
on call fixers, you'd be
oops,
like,
all fixers.
oops, all fixers. Exactly. You wouldn't need to hire a fixer internally because that's what everyone's doing already. So you wouldn't need a separate one.
Whoa.
Because
Yeah, a
otherwise, every
fixer
industry,
fixer.
someone is going to do
You'd have
something
to hire
wrong.
a breaker,
right?
right? I'm gonna put my application in.
That is a job. You're making great faces, Hunter.
I'm working on it.
That's a heck of a job. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about in the news, that's YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/AlexFalcone. I said YouTube. You know what I meant.
YouTube.
Is that taken?
You know
We should
about-
get that.
Oh, we should get YouTube. Yeah,
I'm
please.
confident Google thought to buy
Please.
youtube.com.
Come
Ooh,
on,
it doesn't
YouTube.
redirect.
YouTube.
There's no way we can get youtube.com.
Well, you don't want
can get a YouTube.
Negotiate it.
Make
with
sure
GoDaddy.
you get YouTube because I already own YouTube.
Oh, sure, of
and that's a
course.
very different site as well.
That was just for
Anthony.
tug of war
We all tug.
enthusiasts.
Yeah.
That's just for your local. It's a way to find local tug of war pickup games to participate in.
I thought we were
Yeah,
only going to do nice
tug of
jokes.
war.
Now that they can see our faces, we have to do just nice boy jokes.
These are taken,
okay?
man. These are all
Of
taken.
course, they're taken. There's just no way.
Well,
You could
I'm
get
gonna-
YouTube.tech.
Time to pay the broker service fee. I'm going to see if I can get YouTube.
What about u.tub?
Oh.
What about that? .gov.
Yeah, how would someone fat finger this? How about YouTube?
YouTube.
YouTube,
Yeah,
what
I'm
up?
sure. I just everything. If they did not buy everything within 100 letters, they're stupid. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about. So you can go to youtube.com /Alex Falcone. You can see our episodes. We'll do that again this week, assuming the tech works out. And you can you can still just listen to it, put it on in the background, or you can watch our faces while we're talking. Yes, Ezra, your hand is up.
I got one. I got
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. You just need three U's for the U, and then you got 2 U's for the tube. So it's YOUUU.
YouTube.com, 5 total U's. Don't
Yeah.
confuse which one it's because we're not going to do the 3 U's, 2 U's. That's too complicated. We only own the one.
Yeah, and then
We're
and
not
then
buying this, by the way.
we
This
can-
joke is not worth $8.
No, buy it. We'll pull all the videos off your YouTube channel, Alex. That way we can host them ourselves. We have to build our own web player. Okay?
YouTube.
Yeah, we gotta be preemptive for when you get the ban hammer dropped on you.
Sure,
soon.
yeah.
You have to make sure.
This will be my truth social is YouTube.
Yeah.
The spookiest tube. Okay. Also, really quick, before we move on to the movie, Ezra, you wanted to say that you watched The Batman this
I
week.
did. I watched the Batman with my dad, and it was cool. The way the schedule worked out, it was a at home matinee showing of the Batman. So yeah, starting at like 9:30 in the morning, we got to see this dark, gritty Batman, which
super matinee. I don't even know if that counts as a matinee. It's
well, I mean, it was free, but if we hadn't been free on HBO, we would have maybe gotten like that first movie of the day pricing, which would have also been great.
I've never gone to first movie of the day. I've never gone to a morning movie in theaters.
That's
do you still get popcorn?
Yeah,
whatever you
popcorn,
want.
soda. Get this place
Popcorn
basically all to
brunch?
yourself.
I like all myself for sure. That's fun.
Yeah, I like Alex. As you could only watch it at this time because, like Bruce Wayne, you have a very busy night schedule. So the morning,
that's exactly right.
It's really the only time. You get in from kicking ass all night.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you feel like when you were watching the Batman that it should have had more verses? Do you think it would have been better if he went into multiverses as a Batman?
Oh, Alex, you were confusing with how you brought that up.
I know it sounded like poetry, but no.
Yes.
Do you think it needed?
I thought you meant like Batman
verses?
versus Superman.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you were like did
Batman
he need
versus Superman versus Jake Paul, the multiverse.
Whoa,
there's multiple verses. Doesn't he fight?
Yeah,
he is a fighter of sorts.
Now, yeah,
he's a Renaissance man. He's known for many things.
I do suppose Batman and Superman would probably win in that case. One of them is richer, and the other one is an alien.
I would hope. I bet Batman would be a better YouTuber than Jake Paul.
Ooh,
yeah.
I gotta get Batman on YouTube.
Jake Paul's not on
like and
YouTube.
Subscribe button.
No, it's the subscribe button. You gotta do extra use everywhere.
Every U is 3 U's all over the website.
Yeah.
It's very upsetting.
People are gonna love it, and it's gonna be worth the money and the loss of traffic.
Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about how to get your cowl clean.
Whoa, you got those dirty cowls.
That's what he's gonna do. Welcome to Keep Maintenance. All right. Anyway,
I know I liked this Batman. It was a good Batman. Very batty, very manny.
very well made movie. It's very the cinematographer is the same guy who did Dune and like Rogue One and a bunch of other stuff. He is quickly rising up my ranks as like a cinematographer. I always look forward to, especially like this and Dune within the same year. It's a very impressive, two very, very well shot movies. I like this movie. I like that movie quite a bit. I thought it was a nice, fun sit.
And really for like a long movie with a lot of verses, very well paced, I would say.
Yes.
Right, like it's actually like it does really like go by very, 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 very quickly on the whole, and
and it's
a lot of fun.
It is, like there are a lot of superhero movies, obviously, but I feel like
there's not.
few of them.
There's not enough.
There could be more.
There's not enough.
But very few of them, I feel like there's any like I said, like I really like. I watch all the MCU movies. I like them. I don't necessarily think they're the prettiest movies. They're all very sort of house look. They don't do a lot with like style. I really enjoyed this one visually. I mean, I think this one, especially there's a scene at the end involving like a flare. That's like one of my favorite shots in comic book movie history. Just like it's a beautiful shot, but it also like visually sums up the entire theme and like the point of this story in a very. It's just you don't get that a lot, especially like even like Chris Nolan, a filmmaker I really like. He doesn't use like visual metaphors in his movies. He's a very much just like put the camera and shoot it. Like he doesn't compose the most like interesting frames. But yeah, I really like Matt Reeves' work here. I'm excited for whatever they do next.
The main thing about this movie that's important is they're finally pronouncing Falcone correctly.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm really relieved about
I know
that.
Good Falcone language there.
Yeah.
I know I was really concerned about that. You know what's great is I was recently replaced myself with a version of myself from a universe where I really like all superhero movies. So I'm pretty good now. I was concerned, and then
do you not like superhero movies?
I'm
other
just
universe
like,
you.
I'm the other universe me fatigued. I would describe it as fatigue. I saw a trailer for that new Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch. Is at it again, and this time he's in a bed and he's not wearing a shirt, and I'm gonna go see it just for that part. I just want to see.
Good looking dude.
I saw the trailer and I said out loud in the theater. I said I haven't seen his torso. I've never seen it. Yeah, I said that out loud.
You can get that on our YouTube also, though, right? Anything you're familiar with but actually haven't seen in person, it's there.
Yeah, it's like Mr. Skins, but only for Benedict
yeah.
Cumberbatch.
Just for
Just the skin, just the one skin.
Yeah, just the one skin. Whatever you want to see.
What I wonder is because I think he's got a great voice. Does he have the torso to match?
I don't know. I'd want to imagine on the day that they were like, you know what, you should take your shirt off. You're lying in bed. You should be you're shirtless. And he's like, really? You think I should? And everyone's looking around like, I don't know. And then they just did it. You know,
He's very tall, right? Isn't he like 6'19" or something?
it's hard to tell in the movies because they have him flying around half the time.
Yeah,
Barely
yeah,
just
for
stands
sure.
most of the movie.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, we
I
got to
mean-
move on. This has been fun.
6-0. Zero
Oh,
different than 19.
Hey, we're the same height. We could high five without raising or lowering our arms. All right, we're going to talk about our movie
Move them
game
forward.
because that's what we're here for.
You just glide into a five.
We would
there.
high five
Just
on
a, just a
accident.
slow five.
We got the same
slide.
wingspan, him and me. All right, we're going to talk about a
Whoa.
movie. 1 second.
Have you guys ever?
So, go ahead,
Before we
Anthony.
get to the movie, have you guys?
Yeah.
Speaking of Benedict Cumberbatch, I feel like this is something that always got to come up when we talk about the man. Have you guys ever seen the behind the scenes footage of him doing mocap for Smaug
Yeah,
in
think
the
you sent
Hobbit
this to
movies?
us.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I don't know if I
It was
have.
good.
So he really wanted to get in on that Andy Serkis mocap stuff, but he's playing a giant dragon, and they were like, you can't mocap the dragon, and he was like, well, I want to do it anyway. And they were like, sure. So there's a bunch of great scenes of him in a tight suit crawling around on his stomach, pretending to be a dragon, saying the lines.
Pretty fun.
They didn't use any of it because
Right,
they
yeah.
couldn't. But I mean, they used his audio, but they didn't use any of his performance because he's not a fucking dragon.
I bet it took all day to get
all
the rig
day.
on him, and the guy's just like, "We can't use this. You know, we can't use this." And
But the thing about Benedict Cumberbatch, he acts better if you cover him in ping pong balls.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
That's
Doctor Strange is proof, basically.
Yeah,
This
you need to
is
put a lot of
wild.
dots on his
I'm
face.
watching
for
this
him
now.
to
This
do.
is wild, everyone.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you can also find that on YouTube. All right. We're going to talk about our movie now. This is segment 2. The game, as you know, we're playing a year-long movie game where each of us picks a movie and we try to direct the show each week by going one actor in common with another movie until we can get it to our movie to score points. This week we are watching one of my point-scoring movies. This is The Cable Guy. This is my original pick.
Wow.
For a movie to watch. Why did I pick this? I don't remember. I was in a hurry. Picking movies is the hardest part of the show for me. But it is a movie that I had watched as a teenager that was like, even then, it was like after it had been like, people didn't like it, but we liked it is how it felt. I also I liked Freddy Got Fingered the same way, where it was like we really enjoyed this, but this was like a $1.99 movie bin at Walmart that other people didn't think was cool that we really liked, and so I was interested in reevaluating it. So this is the 1996 American black comedy film, directed by Ben Stiller and written by Lou Holtz Jr., produced by Judd Apatow.
And
Whoa.
also on the writing thing, Judd Apatow lost a arbitration
he sued
to get a writing
to say
credit
that
on
it was
this.
his movie, and which is really interesting, because apparently this was like Lou Holtz wrote like a really silly, annoying friend comedy. There was a bidding war, sold it for $1 million, and then they were like, "We're gonna make it a different movie."
And
That's
they also
Hollywood,
wanted Chris
baby.
Farley
Why
as
is
well.
the industry like this?
Yeah.
Why do you need to? Why are you paying? Why was there a bidding war for a movie that you guys didn't want to make?
Is this where Judd Apatow met Leslie Mann?
Yes.
Does
It's-
anyone
she
know
was-
that? Is
She
it
was
with-
he was doing the stand-in reading basically for I think Matthew Broderick.
Oh, okay.
When she was auditioning.
Did they?
Because,
are they an item? Did they get together?
Yeah.
They're very yes.
You mean the person who plays his wife in every single one of his movies?
No, I didn't know that.
With his kids.
I don't follow a lot of Patow's
Yeah.
career. I didn't know that.
I think
Not a
Leslie
comedy
Mann is
man.
really funny, especially she is so beautiful around this time, and I really like her work, but she kind of has just become relegated to playing Judd Apatow's kids' moms in Judd Apatow movies over
Sure.
the last 20 years.
Well, so let me
Since-
just give you the whole rundown now.
Good
So
gig
this
if you can
movie
get it.
starring Matthew
Yeah.
Broderick, Jack Black, Leslie Mann, and most importantly for our purposes, Jim Carrey, who was in a movie 2 weeks ago, and we're watching this. The way we moved here, was via Jim Carrey from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind 2 weeks ago. Anthony moved forward.
Actually, technically, Alex, it was a dual move. We could have done it because we were also David Cross, I think.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
It counts double.
Oh, well, this would be important if I'd wanted to travel out of here via Jim Carrey, since we say you can't go out the way you came in.
Right.
So then it would have been like, we should have said the other one. Anthony picked something on the side of evil, and then Ezra used his power card to move back to Eternal Sunshine, move via Jim Carrey to this movie to help me out. The movie also, in addition to those stars, has guest appearances from David Cross, Bob Odenkirk, Janine Garofalo, Andy Dick, Owen Wilson, and Ben Stiller.
And also Kyle Gass.
Kyle Gass,
he's
of course. Kyle Gass.
He looks at a book. He looks at a book.
Doesn't get to do as much, but
he's excited.
Eric
to look at
Roberts.
Yeah, Eric Roberts.
Also,
a lot
speaking
of
of Batman, he was in a few of those Batman movies.
A lot of people hanging around in this movie. Very fun supporting cast. Although it does make it kind of weird to move out of here. Also, of that list, I've done a show with Janine Garofalo. No one else on the list, but
neat. So we could jump to that show, is what you're saying? Or we could jump to
if you want to go to
make a rule,
Bridgetown 2016 stand-up show that I hosted.
That'd be a great movie.
Do that.
Yeah.
All right. So for those of you who've not seen The Cable Guy, or you've not seen it recently, allow me to summarize in my classic 5-point micro summary. Starting now, Steve has just moved out of his apartment that he shared with his girlfriend and into a new apartment of his own while they take some time apart. But as he's getting settled in, the cable installer shows up and is a little awkward. Steve offers him a bribe to get free extra channels, and that causes the titular cable guy to decide that they are going to be best friends, whether Steve likes it or not. At first, he's just an intense friend with no boundaries. And if you don't want to hang out with him, he'll turn off your cable and bribe you in the middle of your movie date with your ex-girlfriend. And if you are nice to him, he'll buy you a prostitute and make you scramby eggs. After Steve decides to friend break up with the cable guy turns full manipulative stalker, beating up Steve's girlfriend's date, Owen Wilson, in a bathroom, which never gets addressed ever again, sending Steve to jail on crimes he did not commit and making Steve's mom say nipple in public.
Well, I mean, he did commit those crimes. He did accept stolen merchandise.
Yes,
and store it in his house. He did, in fact, commit those crimes.
He's not really framed so much as he did do a crime and got called out on it.
Well, we don't have any. We don't know for sure that those were stolen, right? This was
we do. Yeah,
we do. Ignorance of the law is not a defense for breaking the law.
Okay, but that's not ignorance of the law. You can't. Intention is a part of a lot of laws, and accepting stolen property, if you have no way of knowing it's stolen, if you're told that it's a gift, seems like it's. I'm not a lawyer.
No, you would people still get
actually incorrect, Alex. You're
still get arrested for accepting, even if you don't know it's stolen.
Except he said no, please take this back, and then anyway,
he also had a giant party at his house with all the stuff. You know,
he's also an architect. He's got money. There's no way in the world he was going to be convicted of this. But he does go to jail over the weekend, and then his mom does say nipple at a party, all because of the cable guy's manipulative ways. Later, he goes all the way to 10, and he kidnaps Steve's girlfriend and ties her up to a big satellite before trying to commit suicide, missing, and then totally getting away with everything. And that's the cable guy.
That's the cable guy.
Yeah.
What is your guys'? I have 2 questions for you guys. One is a 2-part question. One. Did you guys know medieval times existed before this? Because for a long time, I thought this was only a thing in the cable guy. So I didn't know it was a real thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely. Well, so I went to. There was a not branded as medieval times, but there was this exact same thing in the castle themed hotel in Las Vegas, the Excalibur.
That's the one I went to.
And that's where I've gone. And it was exactly like the first part of this, not the part where they got like 2 people from the audience going to go up and fight.
Yeah.
But everything else like this, turkey leg, Pepsi from a goblet. Yeah. You're supposed to cheer for your colors night. The serving person looks pissed off, but also has to say some old timey words. Like it was exactly like this.
All right. And then my second question is, what is your guys' favorite? Because Cable Guy belongs to a genre that was very big in the late 80s through most of the 90s, right? The crazy stranger comes in and fucks up your life genre. I was wondering if you guys had any of the favorite. Single White Female, Fatal Attraction, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
I don't think I like any of these.
Nope, I don't like this genre. I
Yeah.
just don't. Yeah.
There's definitely, but there was a lot of these that were made around this period that Cable Guy's basically a satire of those films, right?
Yeah.
And I
And
do
it's-
think it's kind of weird because that genre doesn't really exist so much anymore.
Yeah, that
some
is
of the stuff
interesting.
kind of falls flat.
It is really interesting to me
Where-
that it like started as a What About Bob genre, which is just like annoying person with no boundaries comedy. And then every time they rewrote it, they made it more and more like darker and darker and darker. And I did not like What About Bob. I found that very annoying. And I found the first part of this where he's just kind of no boundaries kind of annoying. But as it got, the darker it got, the more I liked it. And one thing I really liked about the structure of this movie is that it does start out silly and it just ratchets a darkerness. And I thought that as a way to do a comedy, I thought that was very satisfying and very fun.
Yeah. Fun fact about What About Bob? My dad only likes 2 movies. The Lonesome Dove TV movie, and which does have Patrick Stewart in it, so there's a little something for me too.
Yes, you guys have some crossover appeal.
And then What About Bob? Those are the 2 movies that my dad has seen and does like. I think he saw like one other movie. I think he saw Along Came Polly, and he didn't like that, so he stopped with movies. Shout out to Carl, my father. He's not listening.
Well, this is interesting. This is like people saw your face last week, and now we're getting a little peek in your childhood that your appreciation for movies did not come from Papa Donaldson. That's somebody else.
Dad does not like the movies. Not a big fan.
That's interesting. Somebody just being categorically not a fan of movies is fascinating.
Yeah, when I was in high school one time, we rented Napoleon Dynamite because I was in high school. Okay, leave me alone.
Yeah, you were required to.
And we put it on, and he couldn't even get 15 minutes into that movie before he was just mad.
If someone
he was
doesn't like
angry.
If someone doesn't like moving pictures as an art form, I'm not sure I'd be like, well, let me show you the 4th movie you've ever seen, Napoleon Dynamite.
Napoleon Dynamite.
That's a weird
fair.
jump. That's a big
I did not have the
him.
wisdom for that, but also to be fair, I just wanted to watch Napoleon Dynamite.
Right,
I knew he wasn't going to like it. I knew he wasn't going to like it.
I mean, also just given the fact that he's a dad, I feel like you should have shown him Godfather Part 2 or something. Like, there's ways you could have gotten.
He probably would have been mad about that too, though. I don't know.
He wouldn't have gotten the story without the first one. But
that's true.
You could have showed him, a movie of Saving Private Ryan or something. Dads love that.
The Hunt for Red October.
Oh my God! Thank you, Anthony. Yes, if your dad, if we ever have to hang out with your dad, if we ever get the privilege of hanging out with Papa Donaldson, we're gonna watch Hunt for Red October, and he's gonna love it.
Getting Carl on this show would not be possible. It would be impossible. I would have to go to his house and set up so many things.
All right, great. You heard it here first. If you want Papa Donaldson on, we're starting a Kickstarter for it.
Hit up the Metreon, okay? Yeah. So that we can get some money to fly me to my dad and set some shit up for
mobile
him.
Podcast kit.
Yeah.
But and also a setup where he can. I'm assuming he does not have a Blu-ray player ready to go. If
we're lucky this guy has a phone. Okay, you know what I mean. That's where he's at.
If I can pitch my favorite wacky friend ruins person's life, I think Cars qualifies as this. I went to I found on the TV tropes Looney Friends Improve Your Personality trope, and this is in the not scary version of it, where you get a Larry version of the cable guy. Who is friends with Owen Wilson also. And so there's a way for it can go well if they're both cars.
Wow.
I really like Cars. I think that's fun. And also, I'm not a big Larry the Cable Guy in other situations, but he's kind of fine in that.
Yeah.
He's a tow truck. I like it.
Larry the Cable Guy is actually amazing in that first Cars movie. In terms of like a voice performance from Larry the Cable Guy, it's actually a very, very good performance.
Well, it's perfect because he didn't grow up talking like that, and that's not his act. He's doing a character, and so it makes sense for him to be doing a Larry the Cable Guy character on a cartoon.
I always assumed that was him.
You haven't heard that story?
No, that's not him.
Yeah, he was like
British actually. Is he British?
Most actors are secretly British, but no, he was like at a rich liberal arts school, and then he started calling a radio station and doing this character, Larry the Cable Guy, and then it like took off, and now he just lives that for the rest of his life.
You can find a lot of stand-up of him not as Larry the Cable Guy from early in his career.
So he was really worried about
the guy.
I think so I guess there's some trivia tidbits about I guess Larry's maybe representation, being worried, like being connected, I guess, with someone on this movie and being like, man, you're ruining my guy's the cable guy like thing with this. But Larry won out.
Which cable guy is it?
I do like the cable guy more than I like Larry. Wait, sorry. Also, it's always fun to know people's real names. Daniel Lawrence Whitney. That's who it is.
Well, at least there's
Daniel
a Larry
Whitney.
In there.
Yeah, there's a Larry buried in there, but Daniel Whitney, we'll call it. There's something, I don't know if you guys have enjoyed this delight, but there are some famous people where like knowing their real names feels mean. Like if somebody's talking about Marilyn Manson and you're like, oh yeah, Brian
Warner.
Yeah,
Brian.
That feels like so disrespectful to him that I love it. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are others, but just calling him Brian just cracks me up every time.
I mean, that's the same way. I've always felt that way about Kid Rock. His real name is Richie. Like, oh yeah, old Richie. Yeah. I know him.
Yeah, I guess his first name isn't Kid. Is it Richie Rock?
No, his last name's not even Rock.
Richie Rock.
I mean, talking about somebody.
You don't think he would have killed
Richie's
Richie
his
Rock?
last name. It's Robert Ritchie is his
Robert
name.
Ritchie, you know, Kid Rock grew up in a palatial estate in the suburbs of Detroit. He did not.
I did know that, and I do think it's very
Yeah.
funny that this is like a genre of performer. Is like, I'm gonna pretend to be poor. Like that's like a legitimate career move.
Stolen valor of being poor is what it is. It's being
Love
poor,
it.
exactly.
I do know that he was previously known as Bobby Shazam.
Oh, that's a great one. Should have stuck with
pretty
that.
awesome. If I ever end up on a talk segment with Kid Rock, I'll be like, "Thanks, Bobby Shazam."
Nice.
That'll be a nice dig.
I think also Bobby Shazam is probably up for grabs now if you want to grab that.
Whoa.
Oh, as like a name, not as a domain name.
Yeah, you could be Bobby Shazam.
Is available, but is there who else would be I don't know if anyone else is like as mean to say as like calling Marilyn Manson Brian, but I do
like speaking of like, so like people who get like, you know, canceled and become like kind of pariahs, I really appreciate. Like one of my favorite things, like calling Marilyn Manson Brian is, you know, it's really fun to do because the guy sucks. I really feel the same way with people calling J.K. Rowling just Joanne is something I've started doing the last few months.
It's
just
a demotion.
Joanne.
When I stop respecting you as an artist, I call you your first name, and that feels
Joanne. It's just how I want to respond to everything she says. It sounds really mean, but all you're doing is saying their name.
I'm so glad you guys were able to go on this with me because I didn't. I wasn't sure it was clear what I was going to say, but you guys did it. You did an awesome job running with that. I really liked this movie, and I can tell that you guys didn't. And Hunter, previously,
I'm with you. I went in being very apprehensive.
Thank God,
a split panel.
I think
it's split panel is my favorite version of the show because otherwise it's always gang up on Alex panel, and this one is a better.
You've never agreed with anyone, Alex?
I've never agreed with everyone. Occasionally some people are on my side. Please, Anthony, thank you so much. I've never wanted you to tell me why a movie's good as badly as I do now.
Well, I did enjoy rewatching this movie. One, I'm surprised it's a comedy from the 90s. There's very few things that are just like outwardly like disgusting. By modern day standards, it's a fairly tame movie in terms of like who the subject and ire of its jokes are.
I think it's punching up instead of down all the time. Like
I think
the
Jim
the
Carrey,
Ben Stiller like the runner of Ben Stiller as the celebrity murderer, making fun of the Menendez brothers. Like the satire does seem generally pointed up and not down, which is so rare for a 90s comedy.
And like Jim Carrey, I think, is really giving. I mean, Jim Carrey earned his $20 million.
He did, and he didn't have to. Like that's the thing that this was a Nick Cage kind of performance where it was like you could have phoned this in, and you did. I don't even think I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan. I don't know, but there are several things where he makes just fascinating choices. There's like he's like sliding down the side of the satellite dish into the puddle, where he was just like, I don't know, there's something about just like he threw his whole body into this physical slide down in there, and the crashing into the door as seen through the peephole,
and the dream sequence.
The dream sequence where he's like running down this weird hall, making these gestures, throwing himself into a door and falling down. Just the dude put in 100% for sure.
If anything, I think Matthew Broderick is kind of miscast. Like, I think if
interesting.
If Ben Stiller had been the lead, or even like if Owen Wilson had kind of switched place and been the normal guy, I think this movie would have been better. I do think in watching it, Matthew Broderick is kind of the weakest link in this movie.
I didn't find him very.
This is a problem with a straight man in a lot of comedies, is that he has so little to work with. Your thing is being nerdy and scared, or like.
But also, he's not likable. He doesn't do. He's not like a good guy. He's actually pretty shitty with his girlfriend. Like I don't know. He just regularly says stuff, and I'm just like, I just don't care about this guy.
Yeah, I think if you switched Jack Black and him, this movie is 10 times better. If Jack Black was the main guy,
I feel like you got me
Jack
with
Black
Owen
is
Wilson.
a straight guy.
Yeah.
I think you got me. I think Jack Black with Owen Wilson. With Jack Black, it's too many wacky voices at each other. You can't have him and Carrie doing voice.
I want peak wacky.
That would be an awfully wacky scene. But Owen Wilson would be an interesting one where and definitely a few bits of writing where we could have cared about him more. I could have bought that.
But yeah, I just think as like sort of a satire of this sort of like genre of movies, I think it's a very well-made film. It's short. It's a very breezy 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Goes by very fast.
Yeah, you can't be mad at a 90-minute movie.
Really carries this.
There were several things that like genuinely made me laugh that I'd forgotten about, and the Medieval Times was one of them, where he was just like, when he's pushing his friend, you got to hang out, you got to hang out, you got to hang out, and then he's making it a surprise where they're going to go, and he says the best restaurant in the world, and then it's Medieval Times, and he fucking loves it. He knows the speech. Yeah. He's like into the whole thing. It was just a very fun surprise for me.
Janine Garofalo is really, really funny in that scene.
That was
she's
good.
Like, dude, come
she's
on. Like,
awesome in that scene. I love it.
Yeah, she's real good in that part.
And the as far like for the scene where he's like manipulated all of the family and they all love him and they're turning on the main character, which is a staple of this genre. Having that scene be them playing Porno Password, and Matthew Broderick is the problem for not wanting to say dirty words with his family.
Yeah.
Was it was very funny. I liked that scene a lot.
I didn't necessarily find it funny, but that was my favorite scene because I just felt like it had the most like tension in it. But I didn't really.
Yeah, I don't think any of this was funny for me, but I can appreciate
none of it was funny for me at all.
I feel like, and all of this is all like so influenced by like the mood you're in and who you're hanging out with. If my wife had not liked this movie, I would not have liked it. But she'd never seen it before, and she kept genuinely laughing, and I was so relieved that I didn't ruin her night.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good time.
Because I was for sure that I was so confident I was going to ruin her night with this. But I was going into it expecting to not like it, honestly.
That's my problem. Is I watched this one wifeless. I just watched it completely wifeless, a single man alone in a dark room by
That's
myself.
Pretty rough.
I watched this on the treadmill, and so maybe that was also a problem. Right?
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
because treadmills suck.
No, it's fine.
I did watch this with my wife, who is currently possibly dying of COVID. Next to me on the couch, she did hate it. She did not have a good time with this at all.
Hell yeah!
And you still liked it.
Be on today?
And I still liked it. I was still like, yeah, I thought it was pretty fun.
I love that this is your comfort words, like, hey, hon. I know you're not feeling well. I have the perfect thing.
Oh my god!
Okay, so let me paint the scene. Okay.
Yeah,
my
please.
wife is dying on the couch. She is.
I don't like this joke because
very
there's just like a 1 in a million chance that this goes really wrong and it'll be bad.
Yeah, I know, right? Knock on wood, right? No, I mean at worst she never gets a sense of taste back, right? It happens.
Yeah, that's true.
But so my wife is sitting there next to me. She's been very, very sick all day. I'm like doing my best to take care of her. Her and I have spent the day like 6 hours watching Dawson's Creek because it's just like a good, simple chicken soup for the soul type show.
Yeah,
she's been slowly rewatching it, and we just got sucked into a very long Dawson's Creek marathon. So we're watching that, and I remember I got this podcast in the morning, so I was like, "All right, baby, we need to take a little break from Dawson's Creek." We need to watch something else. She's like, what was that? And I went, oh, it's the cable guy. Yeah. So sick as hell, just immersed in Dawson's Creek. Take a hard pivot into the cable guy. So I think it's more of like the dissonance and the sickness and the stuff he had. She just really reacted to this movie in a way I was not expecting.
Did you see, Anthony? I'm sure you saw this week. There was somebody who got the Playdate, that little black and white Craig video game. They got the movie Inception playing on a Playdate as just the thing they knew would piss off the director's intent as much as anyone had ever done with a movie. Like the guy who's like, you could only see movies in theaters. They're playing it on a small black and white hand cranked video game. I feel like watching 6 hours of Dawson's Creek before this is the emotional equivalent of watching Inception on a Playdate. Like, this is as far from the mood that Judd Apatow expected you to go into this movie as you could have.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is not what Ben Stiller wanted.
This is not what Ben wanted at all. So Anthony, you've been talking the last few weeks about how much you're enjoying Ben Stiller's directorial Apple Plus show, Severance. And how did you feel about the directing of this, given that?
I think it's pretty solid. I think that he was definitely trying to do a very across the plate sort of workman-like comedy here. There are some fairly inventive scenes. What I think is really fascinating, because kind of like watching this and Severance, it got me sort of thinking about Ben Affleck, not just as a comedic star.
Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller, yes. Did I say Ben Affleck? Ben Stiller, yes. But Ben Stiller as a director is such a weird arc to his career. So he has Reality Bites, which is right before this, which is also a movie I'd be very curious to see how that holds up. I mean, but Reality Bites was this, big, also a huge cult hit. It is like the quintessential Gen X movie. I think it's probably very annoying by modern standards. But it has deals with a lot of like these same type of people. This is obviously a dark comedy. Then he's got the two Zoolander films, Tropic Thunder, and a bunch of like TV stuff, right? And he has like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty in there, which was like his prestige Oscar-winning movie that everyone just flatly rejected. But yeah, I especially think coming off Reality Bites to this, it's such an odd tonal shift, right? But yeah, I think his directing has definitely gotten better as he's gone along. I think the direction in Severance and the style of that show is really, really high quality and looks amazing. But yeah, I thought him directing this, it was a weird choice. I'm very curious what attracted him to this material. This was between him and Jim Carrey. This was Jim Carrey at like the height of his career. Midas touch, everything he touched turns to gold. This is 2 years after the incredible 1994, which is probably still the best year any actor will ever have.
Right.
In terms of like,
it's kind of interesting because those are so much less dark than this, and I also like it's just an interesting turn for why Jim. I mean, obviously the money, but other than that, what would attract him to this script?
Yeah.
But I did see somebody mentioned on probably just Wikipedia that it was like this was sort of a bridge to him to doing more serious movies like Eternal Sunshine.
Oh yeah, and this was definitely like, I think him wanting to stretch himself a little bit, getting paid $20 million for what is such a dark, weird role is a very weird bet. But I mean, this guy had everything he touched was turned into a massive hit. At this point.
That is also possible that he just didn't. He thought whatever he was in would make $1 billion, so it didn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, this is his like the closest equivalent of like Will Smith choosing Wild Wild West over The Matrix, right? It is like they're just on fire. Everything they touch is like this huge hit. Then they finally make this really big movie, and it's just completely craters, and
that's interesting. One last thing I will say about this, and I'm going to move on, is just that Siskel and Ebert, one said that it was great, and the other one said it was terrible. So split panel all the way. That's what this movie is. It's a split panel show. Split panel movie. But let's not. You know what? Two people don't like it. I think we've said more than enough about this movie that it's not that important in the world. So let's move on. We got plenty of other things to do today. So let's jump into segment 3, the master list.
Can Ezra at least say one thing about the movie before we move?
Do you want to?
I mean, so here's the most interesting. I felt like I was supposed to like a lot of Jim Carrey stuff more than I did, I guess, at that time, right? Because I saw it, I feel like in theaters, and I didn't like Ace Ventura as much as I felt like I was supposed to compared to Friends. I liked The Mask. I liked Dumb and Dumber, but this one was just like, oh man, I'm not having fun. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think the most interesting thing about it was knowing that it was Judd Apatow also, because I think this is actually about like male friendship and like the problems, I guess, of like actually being open with someone. Because if you put it in the rest of Judd Apatow's like oeuvre, like later on, it's all about like how can dudes feel comfortable like being like friends. And I think that's kind of interesting where it's like it's a weird. I think like the most interest. It's not like a comedy for me. Like this was much more of like the like medicine doesn't have to taste sweet kind of thing where it's like this is interesting that him trying to explore these kinds of themes and sort of like seeing like what's the I guess like what's the problem, I guess, like can you actually like it's it's hard for adult dudes to make friends. I think that's my lesson in this one.
Yeah.
Well, they do. You got there's a lot of trauma behind it, keeping us from being friends with each other because of that.
Yeah.
I think that's super interesting.
There's also something that I've been thinking about since I watched this. Like we have, we still have like internet people who come out, but because internet is like there's 3 companies that run everything and it's very uniform about who you get. It really isn't the same. Like it is this movie. I'd be curious to show this to like a young like millennial or like a 20-something now, just to try to explain to them what cable guys will like.
Yeah.
So these people we used to invite in a house, they would work for the small local cable company.
Yeah.
And they were always kind of weirdos. I mean, not besides like one giving them $50 to like, get cable. I always heard cable guys are really great people to get drugs from as well. Because, they just had a lot of drugs on them.
Yeah.
And they would get upset.
So I will say, I think you're mostly right, because most of the time you get a new apartment, you're like, you call Comcast and they just turn it on. And it's just already there. But when we got fiber put in to our apartment, it was a guy and he was here for like 8 hours because he had to go up a pole on the other side of the street and run an individual line from the pole across the roof of our building, over in the side, drill hole through the wall to get the thing in, that is now letting all the ants into the house. And anyway, and he was here for a long time. He wanted to chat a lot. And he also was repeatedly telling me his main thing that he wanted to tell me over and over again was how good he was at this. Every time he did a new piece of it, he'd tie some wires together and he'd be like, man, the next person who comes out here to repair this going to be pissed off at me for doing such a good job. Like, dude was prideful of his ability to install fiber into the house. So it felt like the closest thing that I've had in the last 20 years to a cable guy. And he had a drill hanging on his belt and he was doing all of it. He was very similar.
Wow.
That's wild that exists. 2 other things as we move on from it. One,
yes.
Pretty much all of Jim Carrey's predictions when he was on the satellite were true, which was very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
I played Mortal Kombat with a friend in Vietnam.
Yes. Yeah. You're going to be surfing the information superhighway. Your phone and TV and internet are going to be all bundled together, and you'll be
shopping from home
and playing video games with your friend in Vietnam. The only part of that that's not necessarily true. I'm not making as many friends with those people that I play video games with.
Yeah,
you're just friendship is still hard.
It's not a good place to make friends. Video games.
No, not like podcasts.
It kind of is. I'm not.
And the other last thing. So there's a novelization of this where Judd Apatow does get a writing credit on it. And there's a couple things that are pretty interesting from that. I think where one. Owen Wilson's character is named Ray. That's not that interesting. But also like there's a part where like Jim Carrey's like has a spider on him. Right.
Yes. He's like laying on his back, talking on the phone, and a spider crawls across his face, and he doesn't flinch.
Yeah. So he's hiding in Leslie Mann's I guess like the ducts of her house, about to abduct her basically and kidnap her.
Oh.
That's why he's like in the spider place. Also, it seems like it's implied that actually the cable guy was the one who killed one of the twin brothers.
The Menendez brothers. Yeah.
Because he wanted to make friends with them, and they didn't.
I was wondering about that because they showed it so often that it seemed like it had to have at one of the drafts it had to have a tie-in.
Yeah, so I think that was.
Well,
that.
I mean, that is the one thing about the movie. Like, I get it didn't work for you guys, and I think that, like, as much as this movie can work for someone like it did for me and Alex, I think that where this movie sort of falls most flat for me is in one is like what it's trying to say, especially again living in a world in which who the fuck still has cable right anymore, and like this idea of what cable and like being raised by television and an obsession with like this movie has a real sort of nasty take towards like us watching trials on television, early reality TV stuff that has just become more and more pronounced, right? Like, if the things in this movie that are like being like their fake TV shows and their fake ads for TV shows look tame by modern standards and what actual reality TV looks like, right? And the idea that like, oh, at the end of the day, like, fucking what we need to do is we need to like destroy the cable and then people will pick up books again, right? It's very like
did that not crack you up
message
at the end when the cable goes out and a guy just looks over at a book and is like, wow, and starts reading? God, that was funny. That was so funny.
It is.
I did not understand the tone of the movie because I thought that was I thought it was making a point, so I didn't even understand.
No, that was definitely funny. That was definitely a joke.
It did not even sort of make me laugh. In fact, that was one of the parts that most frustrated me. Was
interesting.
Like, why? Like, I just like if I don't trust the tone of the movie, it's very hard to read whether it's
no, you're totally right.
Time or not laughing time.
One of the reasons why I don't like. Yeah, I'm not hurt. Like I showed you my prize possession, and you guys were like, "That's crap." I could definitely see how this movie would miss you. There's I have no issue with that at all. And I do think tonally it is very strange, and that's why it missed most of America in 1996.
Right.
And I think it's sort of like Napoleon Dynamite that like if it catches you in just the right moment, it might be the best thing you've ever seen.
Right.
But I can totally understand why people are frustrated by it. And it's not Carl's favorite movie. Carl? Did I remember that right?
His name is Carl, but he's never seen The Cable Guy, and he never will.
No, I don't think he should. But here's my question. If you were to rank The Cable Guy in the Season 5 Master List of Quality Greatest Movies of All Time, 1 through 15, this being our 15th movie, where does this fall for you?
Can I make a suggestion where, for me, this falls?
Yes.
Right before Apollo 13.
No.
I would honestly, I think that The Cable Guy, for me, looking at the list of 14 other movies we watch, I think that we had been using The Life Aquatic as sort of like the line in which
really is the line
good
Aquatic,
movies
for sure.
of above this, bad movies below this. I would say, I think Life Aquatic has been working hard and is about to sit on the bench because Cable Guy should be a new line of like, this is the bottom floor.
This is above Steve?
No, right below
Steve.
Right below Life Aquatic. So that this way, I think that is a good barometer because even if you guys who don't like this, I don't think you would say this is like an outwardly like bad movie. Like it's competently made. It's put together. It's got big stars in it. To me, this is like, even if you don't like it, I think
your number is 10.
The new baseline.
Yeah.
Is that where Life Aquatic is at?
Life Aquatic is currently 9, so that would put this as 10. Right now, currently in 10th place is Hard to Be a God, and then PJ and Soylent Green. So it would be above those movies, but below Battleship Potemkin, In the Cut, and The Life Aquatic. Here's the problem with doing these as averages is I think you're exactly right, and I think both of them are going to be more negative. So do I have to say something higher to average this out?
I think we should. Honestly, you guys think this movie is worse than How to Be a God, Transformers?
Oh, I definitely think I liked Hard to Be a God better. Not saying it's better, but I definitely liked Hard to Be a God more.
I liked PJ a lot more. I like PJ similar to this, but Hard to Be a God was just so awful.
Hard to Be a God owned. And don't you remember Hot Werner Herzog for like 2 seconds? That's on its own. On its own.
Just like one, like that's with me. It's like unwatchable.
This movie would have been way better with the Werner Herzog cameo. Like it just makes sense.
Yeah,
it would have made a lot more sense.
Up as like a competitive cable guy.
Oh,
or
sure, that's
dad,
a good idea. Could have been the
or
prison
like
roommate.
Yeah,
I think that I'll go first because I feel like you want maybe the negative people to go first so that then the positive people can adjust.
Well, no, Anthony just gave it too fair of a rating. That's what I'm worried about now. But
oh yeah,
just to get my fair rating before you guys say anything.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is I think this is I think similar to Anthony, except that I would put it ahead of Life Aquatic. Okay. I would say the tone problems in Life Aquatic are worse, and the like things that are cringy and don't hold up are much worse. And the funny parts on this are funnier. So I think the right place for this is 9. That's the actual fair rating, and anything else will be frustrating to me. So now ruin this with your negativity.
Okay. So yes, I will. I'm trying to decide if I think I would put it above Soylent Green because PJ was interesting enough, and the ring gag thing gave me so much joy.
That was pretty funny.
And that I liked the ring gag probably more than any frame of Cable Guy, and it's one single frame that gave me a lot of joy. Whereas I just did not connect with this, and this is not even the first time I've seen it. I've seen this movie before. I mean, it's not like I didn't come into this movie like blind. I came into this movie having watched it before and been like, oh, I just don't like it. The movie doesn't make sense to me. As in, it kind of feels like a movie that. The people that are making it are all thinking it's a different movie, and no one really knows exactly what movie it is. Like Matthew Broderick, every scene he's in, it feels like he's not really sure what he's supposed to do. And I feel like Jim Carrey is doing exactly what Jim Carrey does, which is it's very impressive. But I've seen it a million times, and also I think I have a bias against that guy unless he's working with like a director that can kind of rein him in. I just don't. I've never like when I was a kid, I loved it, but I just don't really find him very amusing. I'm going to quote Tommy Lee Jones and say that I do not sanction his buffoonery.
Yeah. So that puts it at 12 for you. That's below PJ, above Soylent Green.
Below, yeah, because Soylent Green was so bad. I almost wanted to put it, but Soylent Green was just what a disappointing movie to watch that was.
Ezra, where do you rank?
Can I go last?
You will go in last.
That's currently what is happening. If you speak now, it is last.
Wait. So then tell me your numbers. I won't game it. I won't meta it. I'm just curious.
So Anthony said 10. I said 9. Hunter said 12.
Okay. So, and so tell me. So from Apollo 13, what are the?
Apollo 13 is currently 5th, the best movie ever made, and below that is Michael Clayton, Battleship Potemkin, In the Cut, The Life Aquatic, Hard to Be a God, PJ, Soylent Green, A Girl with Character, and then the worst movie that's ever been created, The Transformers, the movie.
Okay, so this is weird because so a couple of these I wasn't actually there for the rating on, right? So I wasn't there for the rating on In the Cut or Life Aquatic. So actually,
this is something that makes it weird is when the ratings are bad. Like there are several things on here that don't actually make sense.
Yeah, like In the Cut should be number 1. Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing.
In the Cut should probably be higher. Yeah, that's true.
The closest one that I can get to, I think I'm feeling good about this actually, because I do agree that Hard to Be a God is more fun and weird than this.
What?
But
literally nothing fun happens in that movie. That movie is, if you took a movie and you were like, oh, because of union rules, we're not allowed to have any fun. That's what that movie is.
I want to.
So awful.
I liked Hard to Be a God as well. Yeah, I'm also in the camp that I think Hard to Be a God's a good science fiction
I can't wait
movie.
for us to watch the 2013 Hard to Be a God as well. We are doing it.
The reasonable thing for this for me actually is between Michael Clayton and In the Cut actually. Because I disliked, I think, I did not like the three below it, I guess, so much.
Right.
So I'm totally fine putting it there, I think.
Interesting. So
you're the highest ranking?
Yes, oddly enough, I'm the highest one.
Between Michael Clayton and In the Cut, those are 6 and 8. Between that is Battleship Potemkin. Where do you put this compared to those?
Above Potemkin.
Above Potemkin.
Yeah,
so
I liked it because it was less Russian
7.
propaganda. Which was
that's
a
true.
plus for me.
That's a good point. Hey, hey, I'm not arguing.
Don't take that for nothing.
What a fascinating turn of events.
I did not expect this in a million
Ezra,
years. I don't.
What are you
here's
doing?
What's great about this, Anthony.
You groaned. You groaned at the beginning of this episode. You just audibly groaned.
This is the only fair play. Like I wish I could put it high enough to put it above Apollo 13, but I can't do that.
I mean,
so here, this is okay. So we're all being honest, and this is what he's not saying this is a good thing. He's saying the line of quality is higher than you guys are saying it is because he didn't like so many of the movies, which does an interesting thing. So the total of that is 38 divided by 4 is 9.5, which means this is officially the 10th best movie of all time, below The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou and above Hard to Be a God, which is pretty much where Anthony and I is like right around where Anthony and I thought it should be.
It works. The system works.
So the system might work. I mean, it requires Ezra to be bananas, but if
Ezra, that's fine. I'm going to be Ezra.
Classic Ezra. Then it does work out. So this is officially the 10th. The Cable Guy is the 10th best movie ever made. All right, a little bit more business before we go.
Everyone involved with this movie would be happy about that.
Oh yeah, I think Judd would be like, "Thanks, guys. That seems fair." A couple more orders of business. So that gives us a scoring moment. Scoring update. Is 5 points to be awarded. Can't divide. No one can say no when you give them points. So first, before that, Ezra, do you remember the scores?
I do. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Can you please give us a score update?
In second place, Anthony, 3 points, I believe. In first place, Hunter, 4 points. Alex, 4 points. Ezra, 4 points.
That is correct. Now,
that
Ezra, you and I agreed to split the points for this movie because you were so kind as to set me up for it, just like I had for yours. So I am going to take my 2 points, and I'm going to give you 2 points, and then I'm going to give Hunter his fucking point back from Battleship Potemkin that I never wanted, and I told him not to give it to me, and he did it anyway, and now you're getting it back.
Oh my God!
You can't say no.
I
couldn't say no before.
That we've set.
That is the rule. So I got 2 points. Ezra got 2 points. Hunter got 1. Ezra, what does that do? Can we get a score update, please?
Yes. Now in last place, Anthony, 3 points. And second to last, Hunter, 5 points.
Also
and
second to front.
Second to front.
Second,
right in the middle.
Place is where I'm at.
At the Life Aquatic line. And then tied for first, Ezra and Alex.
At 6 points. Very interesting game. So now it is my turn to pick this week. And we had potential for a constitutional crisis this week. We talked about this a little last week after the air, but this was time for a constitutional crisis because I am choosing the next movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to pick a new movie that I wanted to be my scoring movie. I had both of those knowledges at the same time. Right. So we had discussed. Do you guys remember where we settled on this off the air? Hunter, what's your memory of where we were at when we were discussing this last week for the rules? Can I choose a movie and then move right to it?
I mean, the game designer in me says that's lame. However, that is just up to you. You know what I mean? Like a kind of like. If you want to play that way, you're welcome to.
Anthony, what's your feeling?
The players should fix it. Like we should just exile you for this, essentially.
Right. Well, so that's definitely an option. Yeah. It's not a rule, but if you do this, everyone hates you, and then they will gang up on you. And since this game is basically impossible to score unaided, you do need to be more of a builder of constituencies. Anthony, as a video game player, more than a tabletop game player, how do you feel about that as a rule?
I thought it was pretty dirty ball if we were gonna do that. I suggested that in rules like this, you should get to pick. You obviously getting to pick the next movie. That is undoubted. I think you should not announce what your next movie is until next week's episode.
So I'm allowed to play Dirty Pool, but I'm not going to tell anybody if I'm playing Dirty until next week.
No. You can't announce. You basically so that this way that whatever movie you pick for us to watch next does not mess up or does not allow you an even advantage.
You're saying that I should be forced to pick the new movie without picking my goal movie.
Yes,
and then after that's over, I pick a new goal movie. That. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that's what I.
So that's the same thing as that's the same thing as not being able to pick your own, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Can I chime in on this also?
Chime in differently. Yeah, please, yes.
I guess I'll say I'm hoping you won't, because in part of like the side agreement, we were saying that you would possibly reciprocate with Princess Diaries. So I'm hoping you would still honor that. But
well,
I don't.
So it's weird about Princess Diaries
case?
because your turn to the time to pick for you is unknown. We have no idea how long from now. So did you have a theory of how I would set you up for Princess Diaries here?
Yeah, you pick Princess Diaries next directly.
Oh, that's an option?
Yeah.
Oh. And then we'll also be one step away from taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that was my whole point of Princess Diaries, because it is the midpoint between these two movies, and so it's a scoring move, and also not even that. It's right. So next, Hunter would have the chance to do taking Pelham 1, 2, 3. Plus, I didn't realize this. Ben Stiller's dad. We have a Ben Stiller parent and a Matthew Broderick parent in taking Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Whoa.
I mean, I knew Jerry Stiller, obviously.
Yeah.
Who was Matthew Broderick's parent?
I don't know.
He was like a second generation actor too, because Hollywood is a true meritocracy.
James Broderick.
Right? It has nothing to do with who your parents are. It's all just luck and talent that went out.
So we're traveling by we would in this theory we would travel by Jeff Michalski.
Yes.
Who's
interesting?
And so that'd be a scoring move also.
Interesting.
Which, to be fair, Alex, keep in mind, Ezra did use he used one of his cards.
The precious
to
baby
get
cards.
You here.
That's
plus
true.
He used his turn to set you up.
So I will but I picked Ezra's movie first. I was the one who gave him his scoring movie in exchange for him agreeing to pick my movie next.
Wow.
And then you ruined it, Anthony. And so I feel like largely this was the completion of the deal.
Yeah.
And there was I believe, at least as I understood it from our text, Ezra, that I was in principle agreeing to help you get to this later, which is my general philosophy, that I want to help people get to stuff.
Right.
As Hunter can attest, I was texting him yesterday about trying to get to his movie, which I would really like to watch. And the problem is he picked a movie where the actors are not in a lot of other movies in English, and it makes it very difficult to maneuver there. It's like it's going to take three of us working together at least.
I think like a cool, interesting movie is what I did.
I'm pretty sure Michael Clayton set him up real well with that.
It actually did.
Yeah.
It actually did.
Alex, not that it's legally binding, but can I introduce into the record the text messages?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I said, April 21st. Point split if I can get us to Cable Guy? Of course. I just remember I could have set up Cable Guy instead of Eternal Sunshine. Chose this because it seemed more ethical, and now I greatly regret it. And I say, no, It's cool. I got you. Also, would you pick Princess Diaries after? And then you say, wait, so you can do it in one? I say, yep. And then you said, oh shit, Anthony oopsied. And then you say, yeah, 100%. Though I'm not excited to watch it.
So, I consider that to be legally binding.
Okay.
I do not remember that. I had forgotten it. I spent a lot of time trying to pick movies last night. Wish I hadn't. Could have skipped it all. Here is I'm going to tell you. So I think that, Anthony, your rule about picking my new movie later is the same as just outlawing picking the next movie. And so I don't know that we need to make it more complicated. So I think first we take a vote on whether or not you can pick your own movie. And it can be that version of it. But it sounds like, Hunter, you're for yes, you can legally pick your own movie. The rules do not forbid it.
I definitely think you should be able to pick your own movie. I mean, that was the original idea of the game.
No, sorry. No. I mean, pick a new goal movie that you then immediately move to.
Okay, yes. I think that is a little dirty ball.
But dirty versus illegal. Are we making a rule against it?
So yeah. The here's why I think this should be player enforced and not via rules.
Mm-hmm.
Because
freedom,
the way that we're playing lately means that, let's say, you can't announce your movie until next week. Well, what's the smart move? You just pick one connected to taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, and then we just end up in this ongoing, never stopping. And I mean, I'm counted out of it, which sucks. Just pick the next
scoring
movie.
loop.
If everyone is scoring every week, you can just continue to build the track in front of you. So we've actually discovered a much larger problem than we're letting on. I
think the one thing that I think mitigates that as a problem for the game is that, as far as I can tell, no one is interested in scoring points towards winning.
Yeah.
I think we like point scoring for the fun of having points, but I don't think anyone's trying hard to win at any point.
Yeah.
So that's a little
true.
player enforced too. But I think that's a fair point. There's a couple of new games I've found here. I mean, one thing when I was trying to pick a movie for tomorrow, when I forgot that I had texted Ezra about this, was that I wanted to. I am kind of curious to see Taking Pelham 1, 2, 3, except that Anthony did evil towards me, and so I can't, in good conscience, help you get to that movie right now because you hurt me for no reason, and so it just feels. Hunter's making YouTube faces
again. That's for YouTube.
It just feels wrong to help you with that. But if I already agreed to help with that, not that I want to watch that movie, but
guys, it's going to be good. It's above the line.
Ezra, Ezra, how do you feel then? It seems like we're generally in agreement. Dirty pool, but not illegal.
That's where I'm at, because I think I like the idea of someone seeing, like, this is technically possible, and then we see it, we respond to it after that.
And if you do it, it'll be drama, and people like drama.
I think my thought on this was that it should definitely be legal because it should be part of your thinking when you make an agreement. So that I made the agreement with Ezra to split the points on this movie, knowing I get a free score next week. So I give him 2, I keep 2, I give 1 to you, I get 5 points next week. And that's a thing that I could have known when I was making negotiations. And Ezra could have foreseen that and said, but if you do self-pick the next week, you owe me half for that as well. You owe me 2 from that as well. I think that could be part of the long-term negotiations. So here's my thought process. I would like my next movie to be an animated film.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that would be really interesting because I love animation, and possibly one of my favorite movies I've ever seen is The Fantastic Mr. Fox, and that was my first thought for what my next movie should be. That movie has Owen Wilson in it, and through not intending to self-pick, I would have then set myself up to pick that. The problem is, my wife and I just rewatched Fantastic Mr. Fox like 3 weeks ago, and it was a delight, but I don't want to watch it again this week. Like, we just saw it. We loved it, but I don't want to see it again this week.
Yeah.
That's too many times. And there's too many movies I haven't seen to watch this movie twice in a month. It feels a little ridiculous. So I was thinking about what other things I would want to put in animation. Another animated movie that I loved was the Lego Movie, which I have not re-seen since I saw it in theaters, but that's like one of the most like walking out of a theater with pure delight feelings. And I still would like that. But what I've settled on for my next goal movie, and this is a little bit strategic, but is mostly based on a thing that I want to see, is the 1999 animated film Iron Giant.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because that's an animated film that everybody considers to be very good, and I have not seen. And
You've never seen the Iron Giant?
No, we've talked about this.
It's a very good
every time you tell me I've got to see it, and it's been sitting in my queue for months now, and I just haven't gotten around to watching it. So this is like... So as Hunter and Anthony have both shown, you can have different sub goals within this movie game.
Mm-hmm.
And one of Anthony's is to just watch really good shit, and Hunter's is to like make the game hard by watching interesting fringy movies and getting everybody emotionally invested in his journey.
I just want the games to get stuck somewhere.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to drive us off like a cliff or something.
Right. So different goals. And Ezra's trying to score points and then do bad things with them, or wacky things with them.
Yeah, wacky,
anyway,
not evil.
The idea, my original pick with the Cable Guy was, it just seemed like an interesting time and place and a thing that I'd be interested in revisiting. But now I want it to be something that I am kick in the pants to watch a movie. And here's my strategy here. I know Anthony likes this movie.
Whoa.
So
it'll
mean that when I score points, it'll be more fun because Anthony will be on my side like we did today.
You're learning.
And also, Anthony will not be as tempted to hurt me again because he actually wants to watch this movie. So my new movie, Iron Giant.
I do want to keep in mind, you keep saying I did evil, and I did you wrong because I chose a very, very good movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed that
My
one.
standards for good movies, and your standards for good movies, there's a bit of overlap, but there's also a wide canyon in certain places. If you keep saying I do evil, I will show you evil, Alex.
Yeah.
There are movies you do not want to see.
No.
You do not want to see. And I will make you watch them.
Oh, jeez.
I will do
that.
that.
The game.
Yeah.
That's the game.
Look.
You ever seen Audition? You want me to get us to Audition? Alex?
Audition.
You did
You ever seen
in
Raw?
the game, not in the movie I had to watch. I thought the movie was pretty good, but I think you were set up to help me out in the game part, and you care so little for the game that you chose to watch something that would be fun. But you chose to hurt me still. You chose to do
All
me
I'm
dirty
saying,
in the
Alex,
context of the game. If we're playing Monopoly and you're like, I flipped over the board so I could serve you spaghetti, it's like, well, yeah, okay, I like the spaghetti, but in the context of Monopoly, you have done me wrong.
Guys, I don't want to watch
Audition. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Alex,
I'm not
is all I'm
asking for
saying.
that. What
Be
I said
careful.
was, I thought if I picked a movie that was really good that you really like, then you would be more tempted to pick it if the situation arose without guaranteeing a deal ahead of time. So
I love this because the MCU
hey.
is also at a middle point as well, right? So like Vin Diesel is voicing the giant. So we get some Groot, and we can get you to from
Happy
Shang-Chi.
Together. Yeah, from Shang-Chi.
Well, I did notice that. I don't want to watch anything from the MCU if I can avoid it. I'd rather watch Audition, but that's fine. Here we are.
Good.
You say that, Alex. I honestly
no
don't think you would rather watch Audition. I'm pretty sure you would rather watch an MCU movie.
That's very possible. I don't know what it is, but
I would love to hear Alex talk about Audition.
I probably don't want to. Okay, so then for what we're gonna do next, my least favorite part of this game is when it's my turn to pick and I have to spend like an hour looking at IMDb pages and cross-referencing actors. And so after stressing about this a lot last night, I was like, I can't get to anybody's movies cleanly. I can't help Anthony. I can't help Anthony for moral reasons. I can't help Hunter for physical reasons. So I'm just going to go through each of these actors and just pick the movie what movie from each of their IMDb's that I actually want to watch.
Well, wait, I thought you could get to Princess Diaries. I thought that was the whole.
I did not think through it or remember things.
That. So my list was. I just want to say really quick what I was thinking I might pick is Janine Garofalo did a voice in Kiki's Delivery Service, which I would love to see.
Yeah, that movie owns.
So that movie would be great fun. I mean, I would like to finish all of the Ghibli movies. I think I've only watched 3 or 4, and we just went to the Studio Ghibli exhibit at the Oscars Museum here, and the Oscars Museum sucks. Butt cheeks, but the Studio Ghibli exhibit was pretty good. The new Oscars Museum, you guys, they advertised during the Oscars, the new Academy Award Museum, is just a bunch of TVs hanging from the ceiling playing different clips of movies. It's the stupidest. It's just like the one part of movies that I could already do elsewhere is what you're doing in this museum that costs $40. It's so stupid. They do have the one of the sleds, but other than that, the rest of it sucks. But we went to the Studio Ghibli exhibit. It was really nice and made me want to watch Kiki's Delivery Service for sure, and all the other ones I haven't seen. We could also, through Owen Wilson, have gotten to The French Dispatch, which is a thing that I watched when it came out and was just unbelievably delighted by and would love to watch again. Through Matthew Broderick, to keep on my animated things, I could go to B Movie, which I have never seen, but the internet is obsessed with. And I know it's bad, but I want to understand why Gen Z loves it so much.
Can't you just figure it out without watching it? Can't you figure out the B movie?
I haven't yet. And then also, Janine Garofalo was also in Ratatouille, which I haven't seen in a while and is one of the best. And I would love to watch Ratatouille again. But instead of any one of those 4 excellent times I could be having, given Ezra's receipts that he was able to produce of how I felt a while ago, I'm going to move us to Princess Diaries via Jeff Michalski.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. I am doing this under the assumption, Ezra, that we are splitting these points.
Yeah, man. The receipts.
Yeah. In the receipts you just read, I don't think I said, and you'll give me half the points.
I mean, yes.
Or you give me your 2 points. We're going to stop saying half because you can't do half. So 2.
Yes, you get 2.
You'll give me 2 for this.
And I promise I'll only use the rest for some chaos.
Anyway, that's what we're doing next week. So we're going to watch, after all of this work where I found 4 movies I'd love to watch, instead we're going to watch The Princess Diaries.
Have you seen it?
No. Have I? Did we watch it for this podcast?
Never for the podcast. I would have remembered.
Interesting.
No, I love this. I mean, like, look, this is the movie I tried to go to, I think, American Pie, but I wasn't old enough, and they caught me, and so I got to see this, but it was still good.
I mean, I would rather watch this than American Pie, I believe. I don't think that holds up great. All right, so that's what we're doing next week. Before we go, we got a really fun mailbag this week. I do a little bit of mailbag, so stick around. Man, I really feel like we watched Princess Diaries. What else? What did we watch that I'm thinking of that is not Princess Diaries? Because we didn't watch that. I don't remember. We did watch a movie with young people in the UK. What was it? He is before your time, Anthony and Hunter. All right. Anyway, back to work. Okay. First, I do want to say, actually, this is funny. I forgot this was somewhat related. So at Discordian Stooge on Twitter, that's one of yours, Hunter. It's one of your friends.
Oh, hey.
Friend of your pod. The Stooge says, you guys convinced me to watch Michael Clayton tonight, and thank you. Which is cool. Also, I just wanted to point out that Anthony's voice has always reminded me of David Zayas. He played Angel in Dexter and was in this as a detective who told Michael about Arthur's death. So a voice in Michael Clayton sounds like Anthony's voice. I didn't ask because I didn't know that we were talking about this, whether that voice sounded hot. So it's a little hard.
I would like to know that.
Hard to tell. We'll have to find out.
I like that. Anthony too.
One of the things about being on, like doing stuff on TikTok, the number one game TikTok kids like to play is you look like this person. Every video is you look like this person. And I get a lot of sound alikes from that as well, but they can also see me, so I don't know. But anyway, I get Seth Rogen a lot, that I sound like Seth Rogen. Not that I look like him, that I sound like Seth Rogen.
Well, you're
do you guys hear it?
Constantly high.
Yeah,
so,
well, no, actually, a lot of people
big laugh.
Frequently they say like on probation Seth Rogen, or like peeing in a cup Seth Rogen. Like I sound like Seth Rogen's lame friend. I don't know. I get versions of that a lot. Okay. Anyway, I'm curious who else we all sound like. I will take those podcasts at read-weep.com. All right, and now last order of business. We have a new meat buddy we have to thank. A new meat buddy is also an old meat buddy who's a meat buddy back 2015 to 2017 and has rejoined us now on the Metreon, and in fact might be the longest listener of the show. Has been listening to us since episode 1. I guarantee it. And I
thought you meant like they were just like they were a very tall person, and you decided to call them as long.
The longest
7'6".
That's the longest.
That's amazing. Yeah,
a very long person. I was
a record.
I'm stuffy with COVID. All right, my head's not working right. I don't know what's going on.
Anyway, Bill has been here since episode 1, since before Ezra left and came back, and certainly before both of you joined.
I left and came back multiple times.
I know. Bill has also appeared on the show. Bill, because Bill is a friend of mine in real life. Bill was on episode 73. We watched the Star Wars holiday special together.
Ooh.
Remember that.
And also Bill had a recurring character back when we did more of those characters, Admiral Compost. Anyway, also just top tier good dude, and very happy to have him back. He decided
he's very long.
Long dude.
Longest dude.
Emotionally long. Is that
dude,
good?
Yeah.
He also insisted that he had, even though I didn't get the email apparently until May 1st, he said he subscribed as of April 29th, so he technically gets the guilt-free perk.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Good job, Bill.
Nice work. Just under the wire. Everyone else after this has to suffer, but you are guilt-free. Thank you. Don't worry about it at all. It's totally chill. We didn't need your money. Also, he said, I've met Ezra and Anthony in person exactly once each, so I'm sure you don't remember that. Lastly, but Bill asks, as a new returning meat buddy, if you all could please say a few things about my performance on the show as if I'd been continuing to host since episode 73. That would be awesome. So this is a performance review for Bill from Portland, who has been on the show every week since episode 73, the Star Wars holiday special.
In basketball, there's a term called the sixth man.
Yes, of course.
Like the guy who's not on the court.
Yeah, isn't there a fifth Beatle?
And there's a six-man movie where you're a ghost.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was like the ghost who helped the basketball team.
Yeah,
I remember that.
But let's use the Beatles, right? We all know we're the Beatles of podcasting, but we couldn't be here without our own George, whatever his name was, the producer for the Beatles. The guy
was it George Martin? Was that his name? I think it was.
Yeah. But yeah, you're the George Martin of this show.
Absolutely.
You did the Yellow Submarine soundtrack equivalent for us when Alex comes in and he's like, I want you guys to sound like this, but he can't describe it to the musicians very well. You're the guy who comes in and explains how the chaos is supposed to sound, right? You're the backbone of the show.
Yeah.
McCartney has said on 2 occasions that if anyone was the 5th Beatle, it was manager Brian Epstein and producer George Martin. So one thing we know about McCartney, not a big counter.
Also, Harrison had 2 other 5th Beatles. So
yes. Harrison said the 5th Beatles were Derek Taylor, the Beatles public relations manager, and Neil Aspinall, their road manager turned business executive.
It's like the Seattle, like the 11th. Was it like the 12th man, 11th man? Like
11th man. Anyway, football. One more than there's on a football
the stadium
team.
one where it's like it's the extra
audience,
and it's
crowd,
just all
cheering.
all together. That's always the 5th.
I thought the 5th Beatle was Ringo. I thought that's a 5th Beatle.
No, I think it's the 4th Beatle.
Oh, I thought the 5th Beatle was Ringo. Like, didn't quite deserve any credit, but
John, Paul, George, and Ringo. I think it would be pretty insulting. George. Man, if we ever get a band,
there's John, Paul, George, and Ringo. So that's 5.
No, there's John. Guys, there's John, Paul, George, Ringo, and Steve, the guy who replaced Paul when Paul died in an automobile accident and took over his life.
Guys,
that's
Paul's
the
2
5th
people.
Beatle.
I feel weird about this.
Paul's 2 different people. Everyone knows that.
I tell you, if we do a bad job on Bill's thing, we do feel double guilt right now. So maybe we should not make this about
It's still.
Do you know how double guilt works? Yes, it's for everyone. You don't get to decide.
No, it's not.
Do you not know how religion works?
No, clearly not, Anthony.
Yo, Bill knows.
Not for me.
Okay.
Specifically, this was guilt for not donating for so long. We didn't say all guilt is doubled in May. Now, maybe we should have been more clear. Maybe we accidentally set a rule that applies to us, and we have to live with it because it's part of the rules now. But geez, I don't think I'm prepared for this.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes people referred to original Beatles drummer Pete Best as the 5th Beatle, or bassist Stuart Sutcliffe, or keyboardist Billy Preston. So it's funny.
I think Bill's a Billy Preston.
Oh, okay. You think he's the keyboardist who he was
great
take on tour?
Yeah, so good, Billy Preston. You know, I'm old. I'm hardcore Beatles.
That's Alex. That's original theme song.
Oh yeah. No, but I didn't know he's in the Beatles. I like Billy Preston.
Billy Preston did everything.
He's the only non-Beatle musician to be given credit on a Beatles recording at the band's request. On the 1969 single "Get Back" was credited as the Beatles with Billy Preston.
He's heavily featured in that Apple documentary. Oh no, the Disney Plus documentary.
Yeah.
Deal about when he shows up and how they all love the guy so much.
Well, that's cool. Okay, well, I think Bill, you are the. I mean, you have the same name. You're the Bill from Portland Preston of the show. You certainly were. You were there for us when we were working on the podcast, and you will be there when we break up.
Era?
You might actually be a better musician than any of us.
Yeah,
I believe
probably.
that.
For sure. Yeah,
I suck. I can't even sing. You hear me singing earlier? Oh,
yeah, not a hot voice is what I got from
that. That's me singing. It just sounds like I'm screaming.
It was good. Yeah, good riff.
What Beatles era are we in? Like the show, you know what I mean? Like where are we at? What Beatles album are we in now?
I think everything we're putting out sounds like one of their best ofs. That's how good we are. That's where we're at the podcast.
That's not that's not like an era. That's like after they quit.
The best of era.
That's like, so we're in the era where like the record, the what do you call them? The suits are just making money.
The 5th Beatles,
yeah, the suits era.
all the suits are just like repackaging the stuff we used to do and selling it to people. You know what I mean?
We're in the era when we're trying to scrap together enough money to buy the rights, but Michael Jackson accidentally comes in and buys them out from underneath us.
Yeah. You know?
What was the era where
they license their music?
Where Paul McCartney switched all the credits to have his name first because Lennon was gone? That's where we're at.
We're at that era, but who's McCartney? Who's Lennon? You know what I mean?
We're still riding Chris and Tanya's coattails, is what I'm saying. But we've written them out of the history. We're doing it without them now.
It's a podcast full of Ringos. That's what I thought.
Ringos all the way down. All the Ringos of this podcast.
We're just 4 Ringos.
You guys joke, but I would love, because Alex, I think we might be the Beatles in different stages because Alex is still clearly living in the non-drug using, clean cut, bowl cut,
Love
haircut
you do.
era.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see Alex, spend some time in India, get really into dropping acid.
Right. With some gurus, come back
with a big mustache and floppy hair. I can't wait for that.
Wasn't there one where they were like somebody was in a hospital bed the whole time they were recording a record? That's where we are.
Are you talking about when John and Yoko just like laid in their bed and wouldn't get out?
Yeah.
Are you talking about when Kanye broke his jaw and rapped through the wire? Because that's Kanye West. That's not the Beatles.
I was thinking about that. Yeah, no, it's different. No, but I haven't mentioned this because she's kind of shy. But my wife and I are in bed currently, and that's where I do the podcast from. You know this if you're looking at us on YouTube. So my wife's been here this whole time.
You got to check it out.
It's worth it.
It seems like a boundary should have prevented it. But.
It is.
No rules on YouTube.
All right. Well, I think we did a great job, Bill, and I think you've done a great job for all of these episodes.
Great job, Bill.
You're great. I do remember meeting you. It was
so
delightful.
good. So good, Bill. I remember meeting you too.
The fifth Bill.
We appreciate
Bill, you are the foundation that this podcast is built on top of.
The rock that I built my church on.
Yeah,
we all agree about that.
Tens. I'm seeing tens.
Wait, was that the score?
Your score is 10, Bill.
You're seeing tens everywhere.
Yeah. No need for improvement.
You might also be a basketball ghost. We have no idea. It's very hard to tell.
Yeah. Also, you got out. That's smart, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. You. Did you break us up? Is he the Yoko of the podcast?
He just got in, did a good job, and then got out. You know what I mean? Like, then that stands forever. You know what I mean? We have to be here every week.
Yeah,
we have good weeks, we have bad weeks.
It was still good.
Bill just came in, nailed it, and got out. His
legacy
one take
is secure. Bill, that's what we call him. Yeah. Excellent work. Well, okay. Well, thank you so much, Bill, for donating. You don't have anything to feel bad about for taking the time off in between. Everybody else who hasn't donated, double guilt when you join in the month of May. Patreon.com and search for Read and Weep, or you can go to Metreon.com and go right there. And we really appreciate everybody who supports the show. That is it for the podcast. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. We'll be back again next week. Next week, we'll be talking about the Princess Diaries from 2001, starring Jeff Michalski. If you have any feedback for us, you have any rules you'd like to litigate, you have some decisions you'd like to have a second look at, or if you have a vote on which of us is the Ringo of the podcast, you can go to podcast. Send us an email, podcast@read-weep.com. We really love hearing from everybody. Thanks to all the Meat Buddies. Thanks to everybody who listens. Thanks to you, Ezra. Yeah. Hunter, good talking to you. Nice voice. And Anthony. No, that's hot. Anthony, good talking to you.
It's great to be here.
You and your wife feel much better shortly, and that you do keep your sense of taste around.
I hope so, too.
All right, we'll talk about it next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
We're waving to the people on YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.